and get started today. And I'm going to share a screen because our speakers did bring a PowerPoint. So I'll go ahead and pull that up, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of conversation in this session. That's what we were hoping for, and we can share the learnings. So today we just want to start with, I should say, we should celebrate that it's Philanthropy Week. And for somebody like me who's a philanthropic studies major, I mean, I live philanthropy day every day, but it's really fun when the rest of the world knows we matter. It's exciting. More people say the word philanthropy this week than probably the rest of the year, except in small circles. So I hope that this is a really fun time for us to be able to celebrate the great work that's being done for the Brazos Valley through the Community Foundation. And um, most of you here know about our program, but if any of you don't, please, take time to reach out to us. Any of us affiliated with the center are happy to talk with you about what we're doing. We're growing, wanting to make sure that we can do everything we can to provide a vibrant nonprofit and philanthropic sector throughout Texas, and of course, beyond that, because Texas A&M looks way beyond just one place. So please do reach out to us if you have any questions. Today, we're delighted to have Patricia Gerling with us. She's been with the Community Foundation in her role for over 6 years now, so she's seen a lot, and especially with the implementation of this Giving Day and community giving. And then Julie Porter, we're so glad she could come today too, as the co-chair of the Brazos Valley Gives, and she's also chairing the foundation. So wanting to make sure that we thank them for taking time after going through a really tough campaign period. It's always exhausting. It's so fun to do these sorts of giving days, but there's a lot of energy that goes into it. And the day of, it can just be, it's like planning any other major event. If you have a big gala, you work for it for 9 months, and then the next day that no one can really move, you're just all exhausted from that. So we know that you have a lot to celebrate and share with us. I just wanted to start off and frame very quickly like this rise of community giving days. I can recall that when I was running the center at Rice back in 2012, we got a letter saying, "Will you sign this?" It was a petition for a lot of nonprofit academic centers to sign a petition that this idea of a National Giving Day would make sense. And I shared this with our staff the other day. I remember that so well because at first I thought, oh boy, one more, thing outside of our traditional giving. We work so hard to sort of train people and introduce them to annual giving and have like a easy way and for people to give. And so they know how to reach us. This is going to be confusing. And then I said, but this could really be cool. Because at that time they were saying, we just want to move the needle from everybody thinking about, going from Thanksgiving to Black Friday and shopping, right? What if we come around and have on Tuesday, that we had Cyber Monday, and then what about Tuesday if everybody in the world would think about giving? And I remember thinking, well, that's kind of cool. So I had this mental exercise that I went back, like the pros and cons and ethics, and not that that little signature mattered, but I remember it really intently because I said, I don't want to be on the wrong side of this. Because I think if we pull it off, it could be really neat. So just thought I would share that because that's not that long ago, right? Just started in 2012. So now the Giving Tuesday mission is really to build a more just and generous society. But this is the movement that has really gotten the most traction and most attention for Giving Days. And out of its success, lots of other Giving Days have come to life. So think about in its first year, I just grabbed some data this morning because you can see on the left the chart that I have, or the picture. It shows where people are actively engaged in Giving Tuesday. And that was just on May 5th. So we'll talk about that separately. Um, Giving Tuesday in general, in its first year, it raised $10 million in one day. 3 years into it, they were at 116 million. Last year, we're at 511 million. And what's being projected right now is that we'll pass the 600 million mark this year on December 1st. So that's some significant impact from coming out of like a random letter that says, hey, do you think this is a good idea? You want to try it? Will you sign that it's worth us trying to do? So this year on May 5th, because they've had such success as an organization, they said, let's think about a special Giving Day for the pandemic. And so that was called Giving Tuesday Now. So there were 70 countries that had like countrywide movements on that day. And the social media activity tracked it twice that in 145 million countries, um, and ended up raising well over 500 million in online donations. So when you think about that, what I think we should really be encouraged by is the growth of that, and also the fact that we take an idea of in 2012 that says, I don't know, and this year the Giving Tuesday, and this idea of giving on one day collectively as a community will very possibly pass $1 billion between May 5th and the December 1st days. That's pretty impressive within 9 years. So out of all this, and throughout the last decade, we know that communities are doing this all over. We have community days throughout the state of Texas. As Giving Tuesday started to pick up, though, a lot of organizations just decided to pull out and say, "Ooh, we're getting lost because so many other people are participating. We're going to have our own day." Like, I know Notre Dame does 2 days. They have their giving day, but they start in the evening and it rolls into the next day. They want to try and capture more people. Sororities are doing this. Lots of nonprofits are trying to do this, and some of them still participate in Giving Tuesday, but because of that success, they've actually integrated a special or a separate giving day as part of their annual giving plans. So a lot of this wasn't talked about before 2012. So I think we should be really excited about it, and then we can want to look at this locally and learn from Patricia and Julie, what they've learned and how they decided that it was a good idea to go ahead and implement it here. I think that's one of our most important learnings is how do we take this phenomena that's been happening and how do we make this local and make it successful? With that, I'd love to turn this over to Patricia and Julie, and just tell me when you need me to advance your slides. Does that sound fair? Does that help?
That'll be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Angela. Advance, please. So let me kind of just dovetail a little bit on what Angela shared, and that is the Community Giving Day movement. It really has its start. Giving Days had its start back in 2009. And to tell you, Texas should be proud because North Texas Giving Day, the first Giving Day was in 2009. So the movement has been really around since 2009. And then, of course, we had additional communities embrace this effort in doing a Community Giving Day, and then the broader community as a whole through Giving Tuesday and the like. But just to give you a perspective, back in 2009, North Texas Giving Day had 18 hours of giving, and they raised $4 million in their first Giving Day effort. So we have lots of players to consider when you look at the history of Giving Days here within the United States. We, like North Texas and at least 9 other significant Giving Days here in Texas, we recognize and celebrate community giving within our communities as a whole, whether that is a region or a city, et cetera. We have Amplify Austin, we have East Texas Giving, we have Big Give in San Antonio. But beyond that, I will tell you, if you look at the United States, some states have embraced giving, and whereas in Colorado, they don't really segregate by communities. They have a statewide Giving Day, and in Arizona they have a statewide Giving Day, and in Washington State they have a statewide Giving Day. So on a state level, they are embracing the need to give within your community and give where you live. But the state as a whole, one organization typically takes the lead in helping with all the background information. But as it relates, I learned just as the CEO of the Community Foundation about community foundations, about Giving Days in fall of 2007. So that's where the hint of the idea came from. 2017. I went to a Kansas annual meeting of community foundations, and all of the excitement that these community foundations shared about their successes, et cetera, gave me the thought to bring it back, just an idea, and share it here. I'd met some colleagues there in Kansas from East Texas Gives, and they shared their success. And to tell you the truth, we somewhat embraced East Texas and utilized their methodology and much of their program because they're fairly rural based. East Texas Community Foundation is located in Tyler, Texas. East Texas Gives encompasses 32 primarily rural counties. And so we felt as though we had a lot in common with them. We are unlike North Texas Giving Day. We don't have corporate Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth area in our back pocket. We don't, unlike Austin or Houston and the like. So that was the basis that we utilized. We started talking about, well, if we move forward in this, when would be the best time to host a Giving Day here in a college-related community. We recognize the need to kind of keep away from football just because the fall is such a busy time. We talked about the fact that if you look at all the nonprofits here within our community, spring is especially busy with events and fundraisers for many of our nonprofits as they seek to engage the community in fundraisers to help with their operating and program support. We knew that the summer was probably not a good time because it gets a little sleepy here. We wanted to ensure that the A&M faculty and even the students would have an opportunity to participate. So in a nutshell, we kind of honed in on October. We wanted, plenty of time from September, when the students and the faculty started coming back. So we honed in on a Tuesday in October, and it will be the third Tuesday of October from now on. So as the other thing that we really had to focus in on is there are lots of different platforms available. There's GiveGab, various different Civicor, other organizations that do this for their business. So we did a survey of the various different giving platforms. For those of you who are experienced with Giving Days, there have been some significant technology issues where Giving Days have completely shut down because of computer issues, et cetera. So we tried to migrate away from those organizations, and we tried to really have a lot of discussions with those community foundations, primarily in Texas, that had good results and experiences. And that's why we chose to go with Civicor. It's currently being known as Neon One as well. But that was our giving platform that we chose last year, and we continued on this year. Next.
So when we started thinking about how we were going to do this, we started thinking about our leadership team. Oh, this is Julie, by the way. We started thinking about our leadership team, and we wanted purposely to keep it extremely small because we weren't really sure what we were doing. And so we wanted to be able to tweak it as we went. And by keeping it to the three of us the first year, we did a lot of text meetings, a lot of last minute meetings, and it turned out to be a really good working group. Next, we added one person this year, but I'm not really sure we will add very many more until we get it really tweaked and really down to a really smooth operation. Financial considerations, we wanted to make sure that we were very upfront with all of the nonprofits that were participating in what the money issues would be. And we also wanted to make sure that it was no expense to the community foundation. So it is not. Everything that we take in, we give back out, and all of us are volunteers, which I think makes a difference. I know that Amplified, Austin, and North Texas Gives have gone on to have paid staff that run theirs. They are certainly a lot larger than we are, and that is to be taken into consideration. One of the driving things is in the incentive prizes and the sponsors and the media partners and business and community partners. Last year was our initial year, and Molly Watson and I would just go up to sponsors and say, and try our best to explain this. And we got a lot of, we don't know what this is, but we'll go ahead and sponsor you this year. And then this year, they were the first ones back saying, we like that and we want to be a part of it. So it was really easy to get our sponsors this year. Could not have done this without our media. Our media has gone above and beyond, as well as our business and community partners. The first year, the Chamber of Commerce of Bryan embraced it, Bryan College Station embraced it, and really helped us along by using their platforms to publicize this. This year, we decided to take it on out into the entire Brazos Valley, the seven counties. And Glenn was instrumental in pulling together the CEOs of the other chambers of commerce and helping us explain this and promote it. So that was it. So they've been an incredible partner. Extensive organizational and planning details, that goes without saying whenever you're putting on something to this size. Patricia and I went a year prior to the launch to East Texas and stayed with them for a day and learned about it as much as we could, and then just kind of chewed on all that information for a while and then came back. The first year, we probably started organizing ourselves in May for the October event. The same as this year, but this year we had notes to pull out and a guideline to follow. We're going to actually meet next week to talk about best practices and what we need to tweak, because this is an ongoing consideration that we need to tweak it every year and just continue to make it better. Is there anything else I forgot, Patricia?
You know, the one thing that I'll say is that we really wanted the community and the nonprofits to own this, I think, from the very onset. And as a result, our community as a whole owns it, because the sponsors and those media partners, they were all in this together with us. And the other thing is that there was an unusual, along with anything, there is a lot of work behind the scenes. I mean, when something is rolled out, you see it for its first time, but it's all of the writing and all the policy and all of the issues associated with all of the details that are that how the giving day is going to occur, et cetera. I will tell you that community foundations throughout the United States and here in Texas, we are great partners together and we share a lot. And if it wasn't for the sharing of information among Giving Day partners, you know, we would have started from scratch. But I think each foundation, as well as Giving Day, wants the next Giving Days to succeed. We're not competitors in any way. We want to lift up the power of philanthropy. So you will find a lot of sharing of information, you know, nonprofit toolkits, et cetera, so that there is so much benefit in having instrumental state and U.S. partners in this effort. Next.
So our ultimate consideration was to discover the foundation's mission and goals. And we say repeatedly at everything we do that this Giving Day is the foundation's gift to the nonprofits. We want them to understand that we are here as their partner and to help them along. The first year, there was a little bit of concern that once a donor went in and donated, say, to Twin City Mission, that we would have that donor's information. We made it very clear that their donors belong to them and that we don't look at that information and we don't infringe on their donors. And so there was a trust the first year that they were trusting us, and then after they saw how it worked, they really did realize that we are giving this as a gift to them to help them succeed. To enhance the giving interest of donors, the beauty of this is that anybody can be a donor. The minimum gift is $10. And so it's real easy for just about anyone to come along and give. One of one of my favorite takeaways from the first year. There's a retirement home locally that is for low-income senior citizens, and they wanted to give back to the retirement home, but they can't afford the $100, $200 donations. And so their executive director just said, we're doing this fundraiser. Minimum gift is $10, and anything that you want to give comes directly to us. And we probably had $5,000 in $20 bills and $20 checks. So it was a lot more work on us, but it was certainly exciting to see them succeed in that. And then meet the needs of the nonprofit community. I had an executive director actually stop me this morning and tell me how wonderful this happened to be this year, because they, of course, like everyone else, lost their fundraiser, the ability to meet in person. And this was the way that they could raise much needed money. And she made a really good point. She said, with this type of giving platform, we get to control our own destiny. We can make it as successful as we want to. And she said, in no place else, it cost $150 for them to participate unless they have a fund with us. And she said, there's no way we could have put on this kind of event for $150. And we are already taking notes and are gearing up for next year. So I think that's the beauty of it. The donors can give as much or as little as they can. They can pick who they give to. It goes directly to that nonprofit. And then the nonprofit has the power in their hands to make it as successful and to work at it as hard as they want to. Next slide.
Angela, next slide, please.
I think that's it.
No,
okay. So this is what it looked like the first year. Our giving day was on October the 22nd. We did the 18 hours of giving. You'll see it there. And we get to the Eagle at about 3:30, 4 a.m. We use the Eagle as our home base on the giving day because we have found that a lot of our donors do not have the technology or have the comfort of giving online, and they prefer to drop off a check or cash, such as that senior citizen retirement home I told you about a minute ago. So we get there early and we stay there until 7 o'clock at night, and then we move everything back over to the foundation office. But we go from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. of giving. Something a little bit different this year is that we actually opened up early giving for the entire month of October. So that the week last year, early giving was only the 2 weeks prior. 2 weeks prior, this was the whole month of October. I'm sure that had a big impact. We haven't gotten down to the numbers of how much of that nearly $800,000 came in prior to the giving day versus now. Or have you done that yet?
Yeah, it's in the slides. Okay,
it's in the slides. Never mind. She'll get to that in a minute. So I've already talked about the donors, large and small, are important to the community-wide giving, and that all of our nonprofits, even the small ones, really benefit from this. One thing we've kind of noticed, I noticed on the giving day, the leadership board, it's interesting because most of the nonprofits, particularly in rural communities, they'll have 1 or 2 paid staff members, and you can tell kind of who's got a more savvy board as far as, or a younger board, as far as being more socially media driven, because so much of this is social media. So that's, so that's kind of an interesting takeaway from this, is that you have to have a board or staff that can actually do a lot of the online advertising and promotion for you.
Next slide. So if we take a look at our early challenges and observations, let me just say without a doubt that there is a steep learning curve. As Julie commented, the nonprofit that participated for the first time this year, they've experienced it, they got it, they love it, and now they are really probably meeting this week to talk about their objectives and what they're going to do next year. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, and I think many of the nonprofits that put in the time on Giving Day will reap the results. We find some nonprofits that are participating in Giving Day, and you don't see that there is a lot of activity there. Many times they are just trying to build awareness. Perhaps they are a new nonprofit and they are trying to just create that platform of awareness so that people that know that they are a new nonprofit. It was a steep learning curve for our donors, because I think our donors, many of them had never heard of a Giving Day. The foundation, along with the media and the nonprofits, trying to help them understand what a Giving Day was all about. We had media as well last year for the first year. They were trying to learn, how can we embrace and empower our nonprofit community through the radio and TV, et cetera. And so you'll see that we've really stepped up that this year, because there were new ideas. This year we had a giving guide that we did in conjunction with the Eagle, et cetera. And then sponsors as well. As Julie referenced, last year the sponsors we went to them because we knew that they were philanthropic and giving here within our community. And they trusted us. And then this year they were, the first ones to join along. I think it can't be said enough, but a Giving Day is an experiential event for all. For the nonprofit for the foundation that's hosting it, last year, we were learning alongside of the nonprofits and the media, et cetera. We knew the background to the Giving Day, et cetera, but there are a lot of intricate details that we're having to communicate and learn as we go. We talked about the nonprofits learning curve last year. Those that were the first to do it last year, we're calling them our founders. They took the ball and they ran with it this year. And you can see the success on the leaderboard as you look, those that were very successful. And then as we talked, the media and the sponsors as well. And I'll say, just compliment what Julie said, partnerships are key to a giving event, especially here within our community. The first year we engaged the Bryan College Station Chamber, and then this second year worked with the Brazos Valley Council of Government, along with Glenn here at the BCS Chamber, where he hosted a Zoom meeting. And we tried to have a meeting with all of the executive directors of the chambers, and had an overwhelming, really, engagement of our Washington County Chamber of Commerce, Wendy Ragonis, and she was so excited about it. This was something that she could do for her community and for the nonprofits in the Brenham and Washington County area. So that was, our bigger picture from the early challenges and observations. Next slide, please. So when you look at our first year of Brazos Valley Gives, we've talked about, a very small, tight leadership team. We could really adapt and make changes very quickly. For our first Giving Day, we wanted to keep it simple because of the fact that we were all learning along with our nonprofits. So it was a very simple Giving Day. We didn't want to introduce a lot of the ideas that others were doing, but just keeping it simple for a giving event, an 18-hour online giving extravaganza. Last year, we wanted to make sure that we had a successful giving event. So we did not exclude nonprofit partners from throughout the 7-county region of the Brazos Valley, but we somewhat told them that we are going to focus our media and our outreach efforts to ensure that we can really control and have a very successful first Giving Day. So we told them that if in fact they were going to participate, and we did have some from Washington County last year, we told them that we're not really going to be able to reach out into their media, into their newspaper, et cetera, that we would most likely do that on the second year, but we'd give them all the press releases and they could assist us in communicating that within their community. So last year, it was pretty Bryan College Station, Brazos County centric. Most of the nonprofits that serve the entire Brazos Valley, though, are located here within Bryan College Station. So that took in a bulk of the nonprofits that serve our Brazos Valley. Last year, we decided we were going to have incentive prizes. That is, during the 18 hours, for each hour, we were going to identify a sponsor that would kind of own that hour, and it would be sponsored by them. And we would have various different prizes related to each hour. And then we would award a prize of either $500 to $1,000 to the nonprofit that won that hour. It may be the nonprofit that had the most number of donors in an hour, or they could have brought in the most donations in an hour, or various different prizes. So for the first year, we chose to have incentive prizes, which we found very successful last year. We repeated it again this year. Last year, we had one drive-through location, as Julie mentioned, here at the Bryan College Station Eagle. Last year, we really did a lot to engage partners because we felt like this was really a community giving day, and we wanted the entire Brazos County community to own it, whether they be business partners, media, etc. And then last year, in conjunction with a particular giving day, typically you open it up ahead of time. So we opened up on October the 8th through the 22nd. So we had 15 days of giving last year. So next slide, please. Angela, next slide, please.
There we go.
Thank you.
So we were gearing up and really excited, and then this nasty thing called COVID hit. And so we sat and thought, what are we going to do? Should we really go through with this? Will people come to the table and donate, and can they afford to? And so we started looking at other Texas giving days, and we're so encouraged by what we saw. Abilene Gives is on May 7th. This was their third year. And you will notice that they went from 729,000 to 1.3 million. And they did their giving day on May 5th. So they were right in the heart of the shutdown. East Texas Giving Day, who we model after, they doubled theirs. And looks like North Texas went from 50 million to 58 million on their giving day. So with those numbers in mind, we thought we can do this, and we proceeded ahead. Next slide, please. There you go. So what was different this year is that we actually expanded throughout the Brazos Valley. It's a little different when we were talking about our media. What we found with Washington County is that they have 3 different media outlets that feed into their county depending on what side of the county they're in. But they actually took ownership in this giving day and gave us the names and helped us reach out to their local media and did a lot of their media input themselves, the things that we could not do via phone. We had an increase in nonprofit participation. We actually had 20 that came from Burleson County, Brenham, Washington County, 5 from Burleson County. And then we also had 1 from Grimes, Madison, and Robertson County. We did not have anyone participate from Leon County, but I think given the makeup of their county, a lot of the other nonprofits also helped their county out. We had a new funding partner this year, which was really fun. The Greater Texas Foundation came in and they said, we want to participate, and we're going to do a matching grant for every education foundation that participates. So we had 5 that participated: College Station, Bryan, Washington County, Burleson County.
Well, it was Brenham and Burton.
Oh, Brenham and Burton. Mm-hmm. We had 2 of them. And so each of them had a $5,000 matching grant that they were able to achieve, which was incredible for them, especially those in Burton and Washington County who had never played this game before. We had the media expansion in Brenham, which I talked about. And the one thing that was kind of new this year that was extremely successful is called peer-to-peer fundraisers. I think all of you, if you're on Facebook, you've seen someone go on and say, today's my birthday and I've chosen this particular nonprofit for you to donate to. That is similar to what peer-to-peer fundraisers are. So board members on the various boards of the nonprofits were encouraged to go in and create their own fundraiser through Facebook that directly tied into the giving platform for that particular nonprofit. And we had 2 different sororities on campus that really embraced this and did it for their philanthropic organization. The one that comes to mind is the Kappa Alpha Theta sorority really worked for Scotty's House because that's who they support locally. And I think they had 70,
Yeah.
I think they had 70 or
I think
71.
77 peer-to-peer fundraisers for that organization.
So they made a lot of money, and that was really easy for them to do too, especially with that age group. They were able to get on and just knock it out. We mentioned that we had 2 drive-through locations. We had the one here at the Eagle, and they did one at the Chamber of Commerce in Washington County. And this year, our early giving day started the 1st of October, and we had 26 days of giving. Patricia mentioned something new this year was the giving guide. If you were one of our sponsors, you got an ad in our giving guide, and then we actually had 2 sponsors step up and underwrite the giving guide for us. And if you take the Eagle and get it physically, the giving guide was in the paper on the Sunday before the Giving Tuesday, both in the Eagle and in the Brenham Banner. And then it was also online. And I think a lot of people liked the idea of being able to hold that and look at it. And then hopefully, if they didn't throw it away, they'll reference it throughout the year.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to Tom Light Chevrolet and Stylecraft. They were our co-sponsors this year, and we could not have done the giving guide without their financial support because half of their sponsorship went to pay for that giving guide, and we heard lots of wonderful comments about it. The other thing that I might just expand on, this second year, we tried to incentivize what we thought was important. And we wanted nonprofits to start embracing matching funds, that is reaching out to some of their donors to identify a match that they could put out for Giving Day, which a lot of people love to give if in fact they know their $1 is going to become $2. And then we incentivized the peer-to-peer because that was new this year, and we wanted nonprofits to start experimenting with that. So next page. So what you see here are just a little bit of the metrics. As you can see, this is, Julie I got out these for the first time yesterday, so this is late breaking, and we'll be getting more information as well. But from 2019 to 20, just the number of meetings that we did during that first Giving Day, we did 5, and that was 5 meetings and forums that we did with our nonprofits. This year, we increased that substantially. I think we had 5 different subject matter webinars specifically just on social media and on matching funds and peer-to-peer. So we really delved in on the how to do it and the best practices. And we had some of the nonprofits tell us, how they were successful last year, and that really worked well. If you look at the number of participating nonprofits, we had 103 in 2019. This year, that grew to 136. And then when you think about those that participated, 80 of them were returning nonprofits. We had 56 new nonprofits, and then we had 22 nonprofits that did not participate from 2019. I will tell you, many of those expressed the fact that they were a summer camp and they didn't feel as though they could raise funds when their camp was, not operational. A couple of them were a reading program in Snook. The teacher said, "I'm overwhelmed with everything at school." And they were all kind of related. The College Station Community Band, they can't perform, so they didn't feel as though they could, participate in Giving Day. So that We really didn't hear a lot of negative comments about, you know, their participation from one year and why they did the next. There were just circumstances beyond their control that they were just going to sit it out for this year. Next slide. So if you look at our metrics as far as first-time donors, in 2019, of 1,765 total donors, 879 of them checked that they were a first-time donor to the nonprofit that they supported. And then that grew this year. We had 3,460 individuals that donated, and of that, a little less than half of them were first-time donors to the nonprofit that they gave. So you can see the percentage of donors, 49% last year, 44% this year. We don't have a lot of comparisons, but the number of peer-to-peer fundraisers that we had this year was unreal. We had 232 people or businesses or sororities and groups fundraise, and we called them champions, you know, because they were championing the effort to benefit the giving campaign of one of our local nonprofits. If you look at just the dollars that were processed through peer-to-peer fundraisers, over $72,000 came directly from peer-to-peer fundraisers, and those just went straight to the nonprofit that they were donating for. And then the percentage of peer-to-peer fundraisers to the overall total, about 15% of this year's donations were from peer-to-peer fundraisers. Next page. Whenever an individual goes online, there is along with any type of credit card transaction, there is a fee associated with making a donation on an online giving platform. And we automatically have, when you're processing that, we assume that the donor will pay for the fee, and many of them are very happy to do that. If in fact the donor says, I don't want to pay the fee, then the nonprofit will be responsible for paying for that. But last year, 86% of the total donations were covered by the donor paying a fee, and then this year that went to 76%, okay? The total, you remember last year, we didn't really encourage, we wanted to keep it simple, but some nonprofits chose to have matching funds. We had over $50,000 in matching funds last year. This year, by encouraging and helping nonprofits understand the value of that, over $173,000 in matching funds. Julie talked about whenever we started Giving Day last year, all of the early giving dollars were amounted to over $30,000. This year, on October the 27th, when we started the ticker for Giving Day, we started our Giving Day at over $104,000 that we had raised from October the 1st through the 26th. We opened it up early, as did most Giving Days throughout the United States, because the needs were greater than ever this year, and we wanted to be able to make sure that any and all donors had the opportunity to give. When you look at the percentage of the total as it relates to the early giving dollars, last year it was 14% of the entire giving total. This year was 22%. And then last year, we solicited over $25,000 in incentive prizes that we passed on directly to the nonprofits. And this year we had over $30,000 in incentive prizes. So big picture, when you take a look at our entire grand total, we were just over the moon excited. As you see, we reached $794,573, every dollar of that going to 136 nonprofits here within the Brazos Valley, compared to our total of giving that we were very happy with for the first year of over $363,000. So that's kind of the big picture metrics that we have obtained thus far from our giving platform partner. We have additional information that is we've yet to receive from our social media group, as well as from KBTX, because we did engage in a media package to help drive Community Giving Day through social media as well. So next page. All right, so observations, what we learned and witnessed today. As we said, partnerships are key. I mean, we can't, it's all based on relationships and trust. And I think that is one of the kingpins of working with donors and with sponsors and with nonprofits. We are all in this together, and it is a win-win opportunity for all. We recognize that the Giving Day enhances awareness and it engages new donors without a doubt. And some of the nonprofits go into a Giving Day with different expectations, and then the next year they may really engage giving in a whole different way. I will tell you that we really lucked into a lot of the decisions that we made last year. Some Giving Days will distribute the prizes on an hourly basis at the end of each hour, and they'll do that through their media and radio, etc. We chose not to do that. We thought it would be very, it might overwhelm us given the first year, etc. We wanted to have a little more control, make sure that we did it right. So we chose to have a post celebration last year, and we were excited last year when the Bush School and the Center for Nonprofit and Philanthropy helped host that at the Annenberg Center. And it was during Philanthropy Week, as it was this year. And it was just a celebration. All the nonprofits came together, all the sponsors came together, the media came together, etc. So, I mean, it was a win-win-win fourfold in every way. We did the same thing this year. And I can tell you that our event that was held on Tuesday afternoon, everyone came. We told them that we were going to be as COVID friendly as possible, and recognize physical distancing. It was an open air event under a pavilion, and we distributed our $30,000 in prizes. And like I said, all the sponsors were there. They took pictures, big check pictures, and it was a win in every way, because it just continued to embrace that ownership of a Giving Day that was powered by one organization that benefits all. And then the other thing, as I said, those nonprofits that really engaged their donors and their constituents and really worked at it, you saw where they rose to the top as far as their success. And whether that was a large nonprofit or a smaller nonprofit, they all had that same opportunity. So you can go to the next slide. And this is, in fact, and next slide, please. This is what it looked like. We had the Bryan Viking pet band that was on a berm in the back. They walked there separate and apart. Everyone was, they enjoyed some music for the first 30 minutes while we registered everyone, and then had a great celebration of community philanthropy as we celebrated a great Brazos Valley Gives Day. So in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much for all of that. Congratulations. Didn't want to have too much of a spoiler at the beginning, but I did know you had wonderful news to share on the growth that you've seen in your second year, and I can just imagine where you guys are headed in the future as you continue to engage more people and more nonprofits. Does the group love to open it up? We've got about 8 minutes and would love to hear your questions or comments. For Patricia.
One out from Dr. Kerr. Let's see here. What do either of you all think is the next, best steps, or how does it evolve for 2021? What are you guys thinking about?
Well, we are just going to continue to maybe take it to the next step. Last year, we did a survey to all of our participating nonprofits and learned a great deal, from their input. We plan to continue to do that again this year. We're very best practice driven, as well as continuing to engage and spread the word about Brazos Valley Gives. After, there is a registration period at the beginning, for about a month and a half. We invite any and all to register to participate. You have to meet eligibility requirements and all. But as we continue to reach out to embrace nonprofits that may benefit from this type of a giving effort, and whether they use social media or just their newsletter or flyers, etc., we believe that any and all nonprofits can benefit from a Giving Day, experience as they engage their constituents and donors. So just continuing to spread the word, and we want to make sure that we continue to celebrate the impact of these Giving Day events that we host on behalf of the community at large. And we'll be doing a big thank you page and some metrics, et cetera, in the Eagle, probably the first part of December when we get more of our data complete.
And it looks like another is, or Mark, if you want to come on board and just put it out there yourself, feel free.
Okay, I didn't know the format.
Yeah.
Patricia, first, congratulations on a successful event. Question, I was driving this morning and I thought I heard on WTAW there was a metric about volunteer hours that you tracked somehow or another from the event.
Yes.
Can you touch on that briefly? I don't want to
Yes.
eat up all your Q&A, but that struck me, time, talent, and treasure is all important. So if you could just touch on that.
Well, thanks for bringing it up, Mark. That's a great, effort that we want to celebrate as well. As individuals made a donation on the giving platform, they were given the opportunity and asked, would you like to donate time to your favorite nonprofit? And so this year we had 307 volunteers pledge 12,363 hours of support to the nonprofit of their choice. And so now it's just a wonderful opportunity for that nonprofit to go back and engage those donors and get them involved in their program of support. But it also shares that the pure reason for philanthropy, because we have so much to benefit from individuals in our community as they share their time and their talents and their resources in whatever manner they can to benefit the important quality of life needs that our nonprofit communities serve on a day-to-day basis. Thank you so much for that entree.
No, thanks, Patricia.
So if you assign the volunteer value per volunteer hour, that might be a fun metric to track over time too. Because that just makes it a little more startling. Because I think last time I looked was about $27 per hour. So when you multiply that times your hours, that will be fun for you to look at.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
Any other questions?
But, I will just say kind of in closing that we embrace ideas and comments and input. I mean, we are a community of philanthropists. And if you have any ideas or if you have a list of nonprofits, to perhaps reach out, we've already got a list started for next year. So many times it's not them coming to us, but someone may say, I'd like to see this nonprofit considered next year. And it's just a matter of reaching them. So please, we would welcome the opportunity for any and all of your comments, your thoughts. We want to continue to make this better and better for our Brazos Valley nonprofits.
Patricia, we have a question here. Lisa's wondering if you anticipate replicating the same giving platform for 2021.
Absolutely, yes. We used Civicort last year and again this year. We've been very, very pleased with the efforts to date. I tell you, we did not have very many. I didn't have very many calls from donors that had concerns. Our platform and the website allows you, if you lose your donation receipt at any time during the year, you can go ask for another copy of the receipt and it'll be emailed to you. So I don't think unless something occurs that we will be changing our giving platform manager. I will tell you that this may not, whether y'all understand this, but when you engage a giving platform, typically there is a separate group that processes the credit cards. Okay, we don't see any of the credit card entries, etc. Last year, Civicor engaged with Stripe, which is a major credit card processor here in the United States. But as a result of having two different, yet a giving platform and a separate credit card processing for the host organization, there was a lot of work last year as far as reconciliation. This year, Civicor, now Neon One, has its own payment processing, so it's all seamless, and there is so much more cohesiveness as far as the credit card processing, and it's real-time, automatic, and we can look at any of that data at any point in time. So that was a plus this year, and so I think, Lisa, will probably continue along with this same effort next year.
Well, I had one quick final question that was really stems out of the conversation we had at our webinar last week. You noted that you had a lot of first-time donors.
Yes.
So do you have any plans between, now and maybe the next 6 months on ways to engage them to keep them coming back?
Well, yes, we are very cautious in our communication. I should say, up to this point in time, we are fairly cautious in our communications with the donors because they really don't belong to the community foundation. They belong to the Brazos Valley Gives movement. And so last year we sent them once everything we had a bow on everything, we sent them a thank you note and said, stay tuned for 2020. And we gave them the date to mark their calendar. And then midsummer this year, we sent them another note saying that plans are underway. We hope you'll join us again. But our goal is to keep encouraging our nonprofits. They have all of the data on all of their donors and on all of their pledges and their donations, and we want them to continue to engage and steward these donors because the donors belong to them and they are supporting their programs and their activities. And so it's balancing those two communications and trying to really ensure that the donors are having a positive experience without being overwhelmed with communications and emails in a stewardship effort. I know that a lot of the nonprofits are taking that data and putting it into their stewardship efforts and with their donors and all. But I think, Angela, that's something that we have to balance, and we're very cognizant of that, but we're very cautious because we want to ensure that continued trust in the relationship of not only the donor, but of the nonprofits that benefited from their donations.
Great, thank you.
Angela,
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Royce. I just wanted to congratulate Patricia and Julie. I mean, to more than double in this year of the pandemic is incredible. And their leadership can't be emphasized enough. But I also, as someone who appreciates and understands the value of volunteers, I think opening up the opportunity for people to volunteer service hours an incredible good step that's going to provide a link to some of these volunteers that otherwise would not have been possible. So thanks for that, and just keep up the good work. And,
Oh, great.
and Angela, thank you for putting this together. It's been another home run.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, that's a good segue, because sadly, this is going to be our last one of the semester. So thank you all very much for being
Mhm.
with us. We started these webinars in April and have, took a little bit of a break right before the semester, and then ran them weekly through the fall. So we are wrapping up in the spring. We encourage you to just check our calendar. We won't be doing them weekly. That's something that, we have so many other projects that we're working on, but we're sure going to miss seeing all of you. I certainly am, as one of the newer people. It was great to get to know all of you, the ones especially that were here with us every week. But just thank you so much for being a part of this. Patricia, go get some rest. Enjoy your Thanksgiving after a big event like that. You and your whole team at the Community Foundation, that you deserve a couple of days off to enjoy all that hard work and everything that you've done for the community.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate y'all's support.